Hello and welcome to another series of the Business Spotlight. I'm your host Devi Malavika, and joining me today is James Urquhart. James is the managing director of Let's Run Marketing Group that includes MIB Business Data, Let's Run Social, the Ads Clinic, and the Marketing Push. So, James, I'm looking forward to hearing stories about growth, about resilience, and I think there's a lot going on there. So, why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit about Let's Run Marketing Group and how it all began?
So me and my business partner Nick, we set up we set up MIB Data, should I say now, 14 years ago. So that business really simply creates a prospect list, and then we would sell that to a business to market to another business. So it's really simple. But we found a real niche in automotive. So our call center, we would find out what businesses run vehicles, cars, vans and trucks, if they use fuel cards, tracking systems, everything around their fleet. And then we would sell that then to someone like Mercedes or Mazda or a telematics provider or a fuel card provider for them then to market their products and services. So Nick and I have been running that business for about 10 years. And then what we were finding were lots of our clients were naturally migrating on to digital. So they were going online, see the rise of social, PPC and all the rest of it. And really simply, it was a business decision of, well, our slice of the pie is reducing. I want that slice of back. So really simply, we would then, we took Nick out of the business for a year to learn around ads. And we set up then Let's Run Social 4 years ago. That has spiraled into an ever-changing beast, which is brilliant. It's growing every day, which is fantastic. And then the Ads Clinic came along because we were getting so many referrals, because we've been very successful in terms of getting client results from Let's Run Social. There were a lot of referrals that were coming to us that weren't ready for an agency. So they were going out to market and finding, I want to speak to someone, do you know anyone, speak to James, etc., which is lovely, but actually they're not ready for an agency yet, and they haven't got the budgets. It wasn't fair for me or anybody really to take their money off them. So it was actually a call that I was having with a lady in America at the time, and I just had this idea of, actually, why don't we, rather than using an agency, book in our slots, more of like a consultancy actually with one of my team, for them to still get an agency quality, but without a 12-month commitment, without a huge setup fee, without a huge monthly management fee, because that's what we need to trade. That's just the reality of our world. So then we set up obviously the Ads Clinic, which has been a real nice feeder into the agency, which is sort of where we find a lot of our growth has came from a social set. Yes, that's how we started. And then we're here today with obviously everything you discussed. We're also launching another product, a new business on the 14th of March as well, which is adding on to our sales ladder in a social setting. So that's how we've got here. And it's been an interesting ride thus far.
Wow, that's just wonderful, because I just love how the entire story began with MIB. Data, and then you just grew from there, and I can see how you adapted to the changes. So I'm just loving that growth story right there. What would you attribute your growth to?
The biggest thing for us is finding, a good example there is the Ads Clinic. So people, although we're getting loads of leads in, and a lot of them through referrals, which again is brilliant, which means we're doing something right. So I think that the first sort of thing to attribute is that the results we're getting are good. I think secondly, obviously, clients like working with us, which is why they're passing our details on. But really, it's around, how can I extract value from every opportunity that I have?
Right.
But giving them the right value. So, for example, if someone came to us today and they said, right, we spend £500 a month on ads, well, they can't use an agency. That's impossible. It's totally impossible. Unless they use an agency that is just going to lie to them in a little way, in a nice way. But that agency can't extract any value, because we can't. So the Ads Clinic extracts value. So we're not losing an opportunity. We're just giving them a different type of value for the money they've got. And it's the same with MIB data. You know, we've got some clients that have huge budgets, but actually our minimum order value is only £500. So actually that's accessible to most businesses. So I think where I can actually most our success is actually when we have an opportunity is we've got a product or service that meets their needs, not just this is just and I can't help you. So go on, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. So what I'm hearing is, James, that there's something out there for everybody. And you just make sure that you snatch that opportunity and make sure that it matches correctly to the needs of the people.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, marketing has got such a sometimes a bad light sort of flashed on it because we have these horror stories of using someone, it didn't work, and all the rest of it. Whereas they probably weren't bad. It was just they were giving the wrong type of value to that customer. So for us, it's creating sort of essentially like a value ladder, really. But where on that ladder can they enter? So the product we're launching in March is around social media comments. So the barrier to entry there is £49 a month. So actually, again, that's even lower than the ads clinic, which is 500. So again, it's getting people in early on that sales ladder.
Wonderful. So you have a very nice product ladder. Very nice. So I'm very sure that along with all this growth, you would have also come across a lot of challenges in the business. So currently, what would you say is the one challenge that you're facing in your business?
The biggest challenge that we have currently is around getting the best staff. Really, is we can find staff, but we want the best ones, and we're not willing to compromise on that. So although we have job adverts out most pretty much full time now, actually the quality that are coming through isn't to what we need and what we require, what our clients require. So I'd say definitely recruitment, and also just growing pains. We grew this last year. We grew 300% last year.
Oh, wonderful.
So again, as you grow, you're naturally going to have growing pains, departmental, HR, cash flow, trying to make sure you're not a leaky bucket, because naturally some clients will leave just because that's just the nature of the beast. So again, it's just really, I'd say, definitely recruitment, but that's just because, again, a quality aspect and just natural growing pains, really.
Yeah, I can understand. You need a very cohesive team as well, and nothing short of a 10, I guess. So I can understand that. Fair enough. Nice. So what would you say is, what would you say has been one of your biggest learnings as an employer ever since you began in the business?
Fire fast.
Interesting. Okay, tell me more. We are listening.
Well, the problem is when you're in a small business is that you get really accustomed to the people you work with every day, and although you make friends with these people, and I can't, apart from probably one person, out of all the years we've been trading, there's probably one person I'd say is a bad person, and we've employed hundreds and hundreds of people. But the problem is a lot of those people sometimes aren't right for the business, or aren't right for you at that time. And you don't get rid of them because they're really nice and they fit in and all the rest of it. And actually they've stunted growth, and not in a bad way. It's just it's not right for them. It's not right for us. So actually making decisions with a clearer head rather than they're brilliant guys, they can fit in. Sometimes they can't fit in. Sometimes then, we've this last 2 years we've been growing so quickly. We have had people leave, but it's been right for them, and it's right for us, and it's been amicable, and they're great people. But I would definitely say, I'd definitely say in terms of fire fast, not in a negative way, just naturally that's the right thing to do. And I don't think fire is the right word either, so apologies for that. And the second one is the value, actually giving the right clients the right value. So again, looking at your your sales product ladder and try to get the best business you can that's right for you. But there is a caveat to that. When you're growing, you will always take on work that sometimes isn't right for you. And I know all the books and all the coaches out there will say you only get the best business. The reality is that isn't reality. And sometimes you have to get some clients on which you know are going to be short term. It's just the nature of it. So although it's not ideal, it's just more reality.
Hey, and maybe retaining those clients is yet another thing that we can think about. Yeah, maybe they start off short term. You never know, they might have needs. Again, building another product for them altogether might be an opportunity that you can think of. Fair enough. And yes, Fire Fast was very interesting when I heard it first, but makes a lot of sense now. I guess you're trying to say you need to find the right person in the right seat for the right job. And then you also get maximum value out of them.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's not, like I said, it shouldn't be seen in a negative. Like I always remember Alicia worked with us for years. She went to university, then she came back, and she had a degree in engineering, but she was so comfortable working, and she was great, but she shouldn't have been with us. So I said, look, Alicia, you're gonna have to find a job. You need to go into a job where you're actually trained, because you're just doing simple admin for us. You've spent all this money on university. Go and bloody do it. So I said, you've got 3 months, and then you're going. That's it. I'm getting rid of you in 3 months. And now she's, big department head at Jaguar Land Rover. She's got a fantastic job. If I hadn't have said that to her, she would still be sat in office today, just comfortable.
Yes, that loop that you're talking about. I get that. Wow, wonderful. And let me ask you, so with all of this growth going on in the business, how would you balance your personal life with the demands of running the business, especially when it's in its growth phase?
I do a lot of running.
Okay, you do a lot of running. Okay, so I mean, how would that help you balance your personal life with your family, maybe?
I think, look, when you're
It's a lot of hustle.
Well, yeah. What I would say is that it's life's busy, isn't it? I don't know whether you're a business owner or you're an employee. You're busy. That's the reality. I think you've always got to just balance it as best you can, especially with a young family like I've got. It's just the nature of the beast. But how I sort of my happy place is when I'm running. Really, that's where it's quiet. I don't have anything to think about, or I try and pull up into it. So I would definitely say that's how I balance it. But yeah, like I said, whether you're an employee or you're not, you've still got, if anything, an employee's pretty got. It's pretty harder for them to balance because they've got to be at work at this time, or they've got to pick the kids up at this time, or they've got to, so. Whereas an owner, you can sort of get away with a little bit more. There's more pressure on you, absolutely. But actually, in terms of balancing, it's probably harder for an employee, in truth.
Fair enough. Interesting. Wonderful. So before I wrap up this interview, let me ask you, James, is there any thought that you'd like to share with the viewers regarding your journey?
Oh, any what? Sorry.
Any final thought before we wrap up this interview?
I would say, sort of like a final thought, is that comparison is the thief of joy. Forget what someone else is doing on LinkedIn. Forget all that nonsense that they reckon it's all rainbows and flowers. It's just focus on yourselves. And I see it all the time. People are so obsessed with looking across, looking over the road at the Joneses, and they might have a nicer car. You have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. I'm friends with some of the biggest agencies in the UK, and from the outside it looks rosy, and inside it's. I always use the analogy of the duck and the swan. They look really peaceful on the water, but under the legs are going for it. And I think for me is that looking across and comparing yourself to someone else, you're not them, and just focus on yourselves rather than someone else across the road.
Very strong, I have to say. I just loved it. I think I should probably write it somewhere, look at it in the morning. Comparison is the thief of joy, because you tend to do that, especially when you're a lot on digital, social media. You see a lot happening there, and then you can compare your lives with the lives of others. So that's entirely possible, and I just absolutely love that phrase. So I'm going to take it with me. And it was such an interesting conversation. So James, thank you so much for spending all this time with us, sharing your thoughts. I'm sure that our viewers also love this interview. So thanks so much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time.